Hello, this is Adam Sassatelli from SIUE. Thanks for tuning in to AS Design's tutorials. Today we are going to be going over a few ActionScript basics. I'll be working with ActionScript 3.0 and Flash CS4. So ActionScript is the scripting or programming language that Flash uses to control its movies and all the objects or symbols within these movies. If you want to do anything interactive in Flash, you have to use ActionScript to do it. It allows you to execute different actions in a movie depending on what a user does or on what frame of the movie is being played. Today we are going to be going over a few things. We'll be going over some naming conventions, so when to capitalize, when to lowercase, when to put a semicolon in your ActionScript, and also how to use a basic stop function. We will go into further detail in my next tutorials about how to provide interactivity within ActionScript. So let's start by making a basic animation. I'm going to create a 3-symbol animation, just a simple shape tween, and I'm going to do this by making keyframes on, well, you already have your first keyframe in your timeline on frame 1. I'm going to make another one on frame 20 by pressing F6, and then another one on frame 40 by pressing another F6. Okay, on this first keyframe, I am going to create a circle. So if I press the O key, or I go up to the rectangle tool and I grab the oval tool, and I'm going to make this blue. Your tools might be on the right side of your thing, but I just have mine up here so you guys can view it better. But let's make a circle on that first keyframe. Alright, so we have our blue circle. Now on the keyframe that I made on frame 20, we're going to select it, and I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm going to make that rectangle be green. So let's draw that rectangle. Alright, I have a rectangle, and on the last one I'm going to use the polygon tool, where I go to, or the polystar tools. So you go up to the rectangle tool and go down to polystar tool, and I'm going to make this, let's make it, what I have? I had blue, green, and so let's make this red. So I'm going to create a red polygon. And let's move this down a little bit to be in the center. So I have a red multiple-sided object, I have a green square, and a blue circle. So now what we want to do is we want to create a shape tween to animate these to turn into each other smoothly. So I'm going to select from 1 all the way down to the very last one, and I'm going to right-click and say Create Shape Tween. When I do that, it's going to turn them green and show an arrow, which means that it's animating from one to the next one. So if we go down here to 1 and I scroll through kind of, you can see it smoothly animates into the different shapes. That's just what we want. So right now, if I play this, if we go to Control and then Test Movie, and I play this, you're going to see that it's doing our animation exactly how we wanted, except that it keeps on going and never stops. It's going to loop over and over and over again. In order to stop a loop, we have to use ActionScript. So let's go into our ActionScript, and we'll talk about that a little bit at first. So I'm going to exit out of our movie there, and I'm going to create a new layer. Now when we write ActionScript, we want it to be on its separate layer at the very top of all of our layers. We need it to load first, so it has to be on the top. Let's call it Actions. And now within Actions, if I right-click on the first keyframe, which is where you usually are going to put all of your ActionScript, and go down, select Actions, or if you go to Control, or Window, sorry, and go click on Actions there, that'll bring up your ActionScript panel. Okay, now in our ActionScript panel, there's a couple basic things you need to know. We have where we write our ActionScript, which is right here. So this is where we write. We also have a few things that are going to come in handy that we will go on into later. We have our target path, so if you need to target a certain symbol, this is where you do it, and it makes it really, really simple to target, so you don't have to remember every single name you ever, or every single instance name that you ever made. And then when you write ActionScript, the naming convention is that the first word, if you're trying to bring up any ActionScript script, the first word that you're going to type is going to be lowercase, and every consecutive word after that is going to be capital. Now there are a few exceptions to this, like when you're doing mouse event and a click, it's going to be all capital on the click. But for the most part, it's going to be lowercase on the first word. Every consecutive word after that is going to be capital. So if I say go to and play, go to is going to be lowercase, and is going to be capital, and play is going to be capitalized. And as you can see, when I wrote this, go to and play turned blue, which means that I am correct in my assumption that I wrote that correctly. So that's how you write ActionScript. Also, whenever you're done with a thought, so let's say we make a stop function, you always end the thought or end the idea with a semicolon. Now this is going to just say that, okay, this idea is finished and we're ready to move on to the next one. This is how you close out your ActionScript after every function that you create. So let's go into our thing, and I'm going to teach you how to make the stop function. Now, if we wrote this stop function on the first frame, it would stop it at the circle. So actually, let's do that, and I'll kind of show you what happens. So right now, we know that it loops, and we're trying to stop that loop. If I write stop, and then you want to make parentheses for a stop function, that open and close parentheses, and then, of course, to end our thought, we need to make a semicolon. And if that's all I do, and then I go to Control, Test Movie, you can see it's not going to do anything. It's going to stop on the first frame, because that's exactly what we told it to do. And the first frame is, of course, our circle. Now, we don't want to do that. We want to actually it to stop on frame 40, which is our very last frame, and we want to play all the way till then. So let's erase our stop function on the first frame, and let's create a keyframe in our ActionScript layer on frame 40. So press F6 to create that keyframe, and right-click on it and go down to Actions, and let's create a stop function there. So stop, open and close parentheses, and to end it, semicolon. Now, if we go in and we go to Control Test Movie, it's going to play through our animation, except it's going to stop where we told it to. So it's going to stop on the 40th frame. And this is exactly what you want it to do. Now this we'll tie this into our next tutorial about how when we create a web page, or if we create interactivity, we want it to stop at certain times, and then when we have somebody click, it'll go to a different frame. So stop function is probably the most important and most basic of all ActionScript writing. So the next episode, we're going to go over basic interaction with ActionScript, like I said, and how we're going to do that is through event listeners. So tune in to my next tutorial, and thank you for watching today, and have a great day. This is Adam Sastelli with AS Designs Tutorials.